Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button. That really helps me out a lot. Okay, so thank you to every subscriber so far. I really appreciate it. So here let's look at displaying the answers here, because we know in the table that this one actually does have 1 to 1 here, and we want to display that as correct, wrong, correct. So let's go to our, now the idea is this: we already have a row, we're already retrieving this row that has the answers, because we can see the answers right here. So there's answer there, there's an answer there, and there's another one right about here. Yes. So because these are the same rows that contain the mark, it can be easy to get that mark and put it here because it's in the same row here. So let's check it out. Let's see what the answer is here. So if I go to the Mark Test tab, View, Ink, this is the one that has teacher's mark and then correct and wrong. So these are the inputs. And we just need to put an if statement to let them display checked or not. All right, so let's scroll down to not where there's multiple, where if it's not multiple, the answer is right here. It's displayed there as my answer. So I just need to know where my answer is coming from, because that's the row that contains the mark as well. So if I select that, there's my answer there. Oh yeah, so there's a function here that says get answer, and then it has this and that. So what I want is, in the same way we did this, let's get one where we say get answer mark, something like this. Okay, let me call this one my mark, like that. Okay, and it's okay, we can add the question ID and the saved answers, same thing here. So all we need to do is go to our functions.php, inside core functions, and let's find the get answer. There it is. So I just want to duplicate this function. So let's duplicate and get answer mark instead. Okay, so saved answer, ID, return answer. So instead of returning answer here, we're going to return a different column, which is answer mark. So just underscore mark like this, and that's it. So we follow the same process and just return a different column to the one we were returning here, and that should work. So back to our view here, get, and that's my mark there. If I come down here, just for experimentation purposes, let's let me duplicate this and instead write mark, and then put my mark here so that we can see it. Okay, so back here, let's refresh. And so we have answer, photosynthesis, mark, empty. Mark is empty there, and mark is empty here as well. So that can't be right, because I know for a fact the one that has photosynthesis has a mark somehow. This one has mark 1. And even if there isn't a mark, at least I should see a 0. So that isn't working at all. So let's see why. Let's go back to functions. So we have saved answers. If not empty, saved answers, then saved answers as row. If ID is equal to row question ID, this ID here, if it matches that, return row answer mark. So instead of all this, let's just do this. Let's just say show what's inside the row, because I just want to see what's in there. So here we have each one of these. So there's question ID, and there's answer, but there's no answered answer mark. This is why we have a problem. We're trying to return something that does not exist. Okay, so that's all good. Let's go back to the drawing board. I'm going to undo here, and let's see why answer mark is not part of the columns. So where is the row coming from? This comes from saved answers, right? So that's the row we are supplying. So this means we have to go back to mark test, and where we are getting answered, it's what? Answered, wait a minute, function, that's saved answers, sorry, this one right here. So let's try and search for that. Where is saved answers coming from? Right there. So it's this is where the problem is. So we taught it to just read question ID and answer. That's it. So we should have just put star to read everything from there anyway, but to save space we can still just do answer mark. No problem, like that. And we should have what we are looking for now. Let me refresh, and there we go. So we do have mark 1, mark 2, mark 1. If I go to the next page, I should see mark zeros everywhere. So mark 0 and mark 0. Okay, so things are working out. So back to the view here, and all we need to do is compare what number is inside the mark. So here a simple if statement will do, and let's copy my mark, and let's come to the input right here. So checked can be anywhere. So let's put an if statement, PHP tags like this, and let's say, in fact, let's just put an equal sign for echo, put the brackets for the if statement, and then the first result, if things are good, we type checked. For colon, if they are not, we type an empty string, and then let's close that. So this is where we echo the checked, but what are we checking for? What's the condition? It's my mark. If my mark is equal to, so this is the correct, when something is correct, it should be equal to 1, like this. Okay, so copy that. Let's paste this right here on the second input. This one looks for 2. Anything else should not matter. So let's refresh, and we don't get anything here, but let's go to the first page, shall we? And you see correct, wrong, wrong, correct. Okay, so let's try and change this one correct, so that we have all 3 corrects, and save. So even when it refreshes, you can see that it stays like that. Cool. That too will reflect here where we get all 3 ones. That's correct. All right, so now I can remove this div with mark. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing on the multiplication side. So copy this on the multiple choice, because remember we have 2 of these, teacher's mark here and teacher's mark there. So let's do exactly the same thing here. I'll paste on both parts and just change this one to 2. So let's see if that works for multiple choice. Where are we? Number 3. Right here. So what are young goats called? Yeah, they are kids. So that's correct. So let me save this. And as you can see, it's right there. Now, some of these questions are answered, some of them are not, and we should see a percentage here that shows us that, because, yeah, why not? So in the same way we got this percentage, we can do exactly the same thing. So let's just duplicate this back to mark test, and where are we showing the percentage? So get answer percentage. So as usual, we're just going to duplicate this instead of answer. Let's change this to mark. So get mark percentage. So instead of percentage, just percentage here, we can say mark percentage like this, and we give it exactly the same things that we gave it. So test ID, user ID, no problem. And let's go to our functions and find this one. It's right here. So actually we have two of these. I must have disabled this one because it has a 1, so it doesn't seem like it's doing anything, so we might as well delete it. But before I cause any problems, let me see if I can just duplicate this. Oh yeah, this is why this one was removed. Let's delete it. It's not doing anything. This is the get answer percentage that has a 1 at the end. I think I saved it as a backup in case this one didn't work. So let me just make sure I haven't broken anything. Oh, get mark percentage. Wait a minute, what have I done? Undo. Oh, sorry, that's not where the error is coming from. Okay, so this one with a 1, just remove that anyway. It's not doing anything. Where the error is coming from is this one, get mark percentage, because it doesn't exist. But let's duplicate this get answer percentage, duplicate it, Control Shift D, and then let's change its name from get answer to get mark percentage. Now the only thing we have to check for here, instead of getting what's happening, let's refresh here. Okay, so everything is cool. So let's look at what it is doing here. So get mark percentage, everything else should be the same. It gets from test questions, it gets from answer, question ID answer. It should also get from, in fact we don't need answer there, but I'll just leave it there. We need answer mark right there. Okay, so once it gets that, total is 0. If not empty questions, then it loops through the questions and then tries to see get answer, right? Saved question ID. If answer is not equal to 0, total plus. Okay, cool. So instead of get answer here, let's change this to get mark. Like so. And we'll supply the same information here. Saved answers in our case does have a answer mark, so that's okay. And then the answer here, if the answer is greater than 0, that's what we are looking for, because 0 is not marked, but anything 1 or 2 is marked, then that should work. Okay, cool. Now instead of get answer, let's change that to get mark. So where is that? Get answer right here. So let's duplicate this function as well, because we are simply redesigning. It does the same thing, we're just looking for a different column. So here get mark saved answers, it loops through and then it checks if the question ID is correct, but instead of looking for answer, it's going to return answer mark like this. Okay, that should work out. Let's come back to here and let's see if we can echo out the marked, let me put a D there, percentage. So marked percentage there. What do we do? So there's a div here that shows what was answered, and then there's the answered percentage here. So all we have to do is replicate this part, dupe, like this, both divs, and then let's change percentage to marked percentage. So instead of answered, this is marked. Okay, cool. So let's try that, and back here, refresh. Okay, so here it's saying undefined variable 50 on line 9. Let's see what it's complaining about. Line 9. So okay, it's because I put $2 became a variable of a variable. So let's do the same thing here. Make sure you don't put double $signs like me there, and let's refresh. Okay, so I have marked this 50%, 100% answered, 50% marked. Is it? So let's see if we answer this one as well. It's going to another objective answer. Let's put wrong here and save marks. So as you can see, it has moved to 62.5% marked. At least it's showing something correct. Okay, cool. So once we are done with these, let me go to the first page. And the next one, and the final one, the next one here. Okay, so at least we are getting some, I hope this is accurate though. So the only way to know is, let's add a few more. I think it is accurate. So a question with an image, correct. Let's save that. Okay, 75% marked. So it seems it's working just fine. So once we set the test as marked, this is supposed to ask the question. Actually, once we set it as marked, it's supposed to show the overall percentage of this test for the student. So let's see how we can do that in the next video.